You mentioned Horns. First, where's Horns located for people who don't know?
So Horns Hill is in Newark, Ohio. So it's about 35 minutes east of Columbus.
Okay.
So pretty good location, really. I mean, you can be to Pennsylvania, like Pittsburgh, in a couple hours, Snowshoe in a couple hours, Cleveland in a couple hours. So it's a pretty good spot.
So that was basically your baby of 2020 in a sense. I mean, that's where you spent most of your time. So before you started, they had trails. What like fired it up that they wouldn't have said, let's build? Because I feel like it. I'm not gonna say it was stagnant because I didn't know the history, but it felt like it kind of just plateaued. And now it's just cranking up.
Yeah. So Horns Hill was the first trail that I ever machine built.
Oh, really?
Yeah, back in 2007. There was originally the front four trails. We built the first one in 2007, and then we built a couple more in 2007 and 2008. And they kind of went. They're still the original trails. I mean, there's a couple of updates that have been done, but a lot of like the berms on Trail 1, what we call Trail 1, which is they call it Trail 2 now because of the way they're like laid out on the property, but that trail's been relatively the same for over a decade.
Wow.
And that place went from about 2009 until last year. It went with virtually no maintenance, very little maintenance, and then a new kind of rider group. There's a YouTube channel, the Cinderbuds.
Yeah.
The Cherbini boys, like, they started working out there. Big Drop Bob Bavard, who's going to be 70 years old soon. Like, he was one of the OG guys that helped get it started. He still rides out there and was super heavily involved in getting it going again. Another dude named Roger Morgan was really big. Newer rider to the area, hadn't been riding very long at all. Just had a really good group of, like, the Cinderbud dudes are like marketing, social media people. Bob's a really good businessman and rider and knows a lot of the community, so he could, has a lot of connections and long relationships. Roger's the same way, has a construction business and hardworking dude. So they had all the things that they needed to make it happen. And we kind of sat down and like mapped some stuff out. We're like, let's get a mile of beginner flow trail built. Like, just make it a loop, because the front side's crazy. Like, that's gonna, you don't want to bring beginners onto that stuff. That's the shuttle side, So we took the whole back side, started making a bunch of loops and flow trails, and before you could even bat an eye, we had done the first 9 days. We did a 1.1 mile flow loop.
Nice.
Like, built it start to finish. People were riding it. 10 days later, people were riding it, and it was over a mile long. And as soon as that happened, people realized like that the dudes at Horns Hill were serious about building some new shit, and they were 100% on board. Like, the city was on board, the local Licking County Foundation was on board, and I mean, when you talk about the fundraising button getting turned on, like, it did. Like, I mean, like, immediately it was like 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, and like before they could really even think about it, by the time we had phase 2 built and put in some bigger, like a 30-foot tabletop and some other stuff like that, like, by the time those first 2 phases were done, they had like 50 or 60 grand fundraised,
Yeah.
So we just kind of kept building, and
so they didn't have, before you built, they really didn't have like money saved. They just kind of said, here, we have a little bit, let's see what happens.
Yeah, so the major players threw in some money to get us started, and they had some, obviously they had the machines and everything already, and they basically I think they started with like 20 or 25 grand, so that they knew like they could go for X amount of weeks, with what our salaries were. And I mean, they didn't think in a million years that they were going to get a mile of trail done in 9 days.
Yeah.
You know, but.
And what trail was that called?
That is, it's called the Playground Trail now. It was, everyone just calls it Phase 1.
Okay.
But
there's
so many trails out there now.
How much land, acres-wise, is out there?
It's 100 acres.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you look at a map, about 70% of it is all like beginner and some blue stuff. And then there's just black trails, kind of sprinkled in there. A lot of the shuttle trails are like black, blue, because they're so steep. But there's one trail in the very back called Slim Shady, which is like, people are already calling it like the best jump trail in the Midwest. Like,
really?
Yeah, I mean, like, as soon as people saw it, like, there's people that literally saw a video and just like drove it just to see it. Like, people that couldn't even ride it, they're just like, we got to see this. It's only 3 hours from our house, But I mean, it's got big, steep tabletops. It's got hip jumps. It's got step on, step offs. It's got really big, like, nothing's like huge. Like it's not like Loose Fest huge,
Yeah.
It's through the woods, but still, like, the cool thing about it is, like, it's given a lot of people a lot of confidence because it's built to a degree where you really don't have to use your brakes. Like, you can trust it and jump it. There's some stuff you definitely want to push through instead of like yanking, but got a big massive step up at the end, and then a gnarly, like, big ladder drop that's like 8 feet wide, and it's about 10 foot, so
Dang.
it's like, it's a legit trail. Like, in the spring when all the grass and stuff's in, like, I can't wait to see. There's already tons of edits out there that you can check from Slim Shady, but it's going to get better.
So when you built that trail, how much experience of building all that style of flow have you already had? Like, did you go into it like, I feel like I can do it, or are you 100% confident?
Yeah, we knew what we wanted to build. Going into it, like, that section of the hill and stuff, like I even told some of the dudes that were the locals, I was like, man, like, because every time we built a new trail, they're pumped. Like, it's just something new to ride. And
yeah.
Like, they're like, man, it's just getting better. Every time I come out here, there's new stuff. I'm like, we're just like, man, wait until that stuff in the back, it's going to be awesome. Because it was like not super steep hill, but it was a big enough side slope to where you could build jumps and stuff and get your dirt. And it was one of those perfect scenarios where the guys were like, we want the biggest, baddest jump trail around. Like, you guys just go build it. That was all. That was the only thing they told us.
You're probably like, okay.
We want the best jump trail you can build us,
Yeah.
So we're like, okay. Like, so
yeah.
After the first day, we had like three big jumps built, and dudes were already starting to session them and stuff. And then, like, the next day, we built this crazy, like, corkscrew, like, gap jump, and then a step on, step off, and a massive hip jump. And they're losing their minds, So, that kind of stoke just keeps the builders super pumped too, So, and there's a ton of amazing riders in that area. Like,
yeah.
There's dudes within a half half hour there. I'm probably a group of like 20 guys, and they all just completely shred. Like, it's insane. The whole, like, the energy there is just nuts.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody off topic, but I see people ride there all the time. I'm like, these people must live close. And I'm like, this is no man's land, Ohio.
Oh yeah, you get like Cam Reagan, Tommy Pellet, Jut Wood, which Jut's an OG BMXer. Like, that dude's been doing backflips and crazy stuff at the flow before, like, most of these guys riding now were born.
Yeah,
he's like old school BMXer, but like, he's really good friends with Tommy Zula. Like, so like Spencer Scott, like the Cherubini boys, like, there's so many dudes up there that like ride and they all shred. So, sorry if I left any names out up there, folks.
Well, so besides like that's on private property, right? Or is that?
No, that's the city of Newark Park. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So has the city, since you've been getting kind of wild, have they said, "Wow, we're seeing more people in the town"? Have you heard anything of that yet?
Yeah. So the city manager is actually, so the DoubleTree is not far from there, and they've already been getting a lot of reports of like bikers coming in for the weekend. And that's a cool thing because essentially there's a huge fund for hotel tax and, softball, soccer tournaments, all that stuff. There's a huge fund that you can pull from through the county or the city, depending on how they set it up, to pay for some of that stuff. And the only thing you really have to prove is that people are getting hotels. Like, you don't have to prove that there's like 200 people a weekend getting a hotel, but you just have to prove that it's a destination place that people are getting hotel rooms for, and then there's a general fund that you can kind of pull some money out of.
Oh,
so
nice.
That opens up a whole new like side of funding for a lot of places. So that was pretty cool. And the city, like all the dudes at Horns, like when we started building the stuff in the back, like Jurassic Trail and Slim Shady, like we were moving, like we were using a 50 series excavator and a skid steer for a lot of it. So like, I mean, we moved a lot of dirt. I mean, it looks beautiful. We sowed it in with seed and straw, and like the back slopes are awesome. Like, but like the first time some of the guys came out there, they're like, oh boy. Like, they were super worried about the city being like, well, you guys probably should tame it down. But, like, the city came out, dude, and they saw all of it. We took them all around in the side-by-sides, and they were, like, blown away. Like, they were like, this is awesome, you know?
You're going to be the mayor.
And I was like, thank God.
Yeah.
It's like, because I do not want to undo none of this.
They're gonna put you a statue with an axe out front.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
But
they're talking about for next year. They're talking about letting people camp, and they're going to do some more races and stuff up there. So
yeah, that's what I was going to get to. So was 2020 their first race ever there?
No, back in the day, we used to do the old the Horns Hill, the Ohio Downhill Series.
Okay.
So it would be Horns Hill for one day, and then so it was a weekend. We'd do Horns Hill one day, and we'd do Mohican Wilderness one day. And those were Ohio Downhill Fest. So you can probably still Google it and find it somewhere online.
Yeah. If you enjoyed this clip from the Rubberside Down podcast, please like and subscribe. To listen to the full episode, search the Rubberside Down in your streaming platform or click the link below.